Hello and welcome to First Lady Fashion and Style. Thank you for clicking on that channel again today. If this is your first time on this channel, you're very welcome. We are happy to receive you in this family. Please make sure you click the like and subscribe button because we are going to learn a lot of things on this channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Thank you for all those that have been sending me messages. Thank you so much and God bless. This tutorial today is a subscriber's request, so you can also make your own request as soon as you subscribe. So today we'll be making the 6 pieces skirt. It is very simple once you understand the principle behind it. The first thing you need to know is that the skirt is in 6 pieces. Now the back of the skirt has a zip, so we are not counting it as 2, we are also counting it as 1. Because it is the same pattern with the one in front, it's just that it has a zip. So right now we will get straight into it. Now for us to work on this, now this pattern, we can decide to just go the free range and say that for the fullness of the skirt you want it to be 10. The wideness, I mean the bottom, the wideness. This sketch is so funny, but please, the wideness, I'm talking about the wideness of each panel down. The wideness of the skirt down here, you can decide that it should be 10, but there is a more professional way of calculating it, which I would let you into shortly. So for this pattern we'll be making, we will need our waist measurement, and the waist measurement we'll be using for this draft is waist 29. We will need our hip measurement. The hip is 37, and we will need the half length or the knee length measurement. Yes, the knee length measurement, which will be 18. So right now, for us to calculate the fullness, it means how full you want each panel of the skirt to be, because the skirt is in 6 pieces. So how full do you want it to be depends on you. So for you to calculate the fullness, we will go with the hip measurement, which is 37. You will divide the hip measurement by 6 because it's a 6 pieces skirt, and when we do that we'll get something like 6.1, which we can approximate to 6.5 inches. So now this 6.5 inches, it means that every panel of your skirt should not be less than 6.5 inches. You have divided everything into 6, so each of the panel should be from 6.5 inches upwards. 6.5 inches will be small. So what we are going to do is we will times this 6.5 times 2.5. You can also times it by 3 if you want. If you try 2.5 and you feel you still want it to be fuller, or somebody requests for a fuller skirt, then you can use 3, or you can even go with the wide range 10, and then when you do it, 10 will be on fold, so when you open it you would have 20. But it's good for you to calculate because our hip measurement varies. I don't believe that somebody with hip 40 should have the same fullness with somebody with hip 35. So that is why I prefer the calculation. So if I do my 6.5 times this 2.5 we want to use, I'm going to get 6.25, but I'm going to stick with the 16. So we are going to use 16, which means that each panel will be 16. So let's get straight into it. So now if each panel of our skirt is 16, the front, we want to construct the very front, the one that will be in front of the skirt. That's the first one you would construct first. So because we are going to fold it, you know, we normally fold our fabric, we will fold it into 2. So it is 16, but we are going to add our ½ inch sewing allowance. So that is on fold is going to be 8. So with the ½ inch seam allowance, I'm going to have 8.5 for my front fold. So I hope you understand that. So for my front fold, I'm going to have 8.5. So this is 8.5, and I will make sure I have 8.5 all the way up. Okay. So now I have my 8.5 from the top to the bottom of my skirt. 8.5 this way. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my horizontal measurement. So this upper part here is going to be my waist measurement here. So from the top here, I will measure where I want the hip to be. So for this skirt now, let's use hip 9. So we are going to use hip 9. Okay, if you've been following my videos, this is how I do mine. So I want to teach you my own method because it works for me. That the hip is usually between 8 and 10. So I don't just want you to be between 8 and 10, because most times when you are sewing and you want to curve the hip, at times you have a sharp bend. But if you use this method of having your hip between, most people, their hip is between 8 and 10, and having a straight line there, you will see that it's easier for you to sew your skirt without having any form of pointy edge. So the next place I'm going to measure is the nail length, and I said we are using nail length 18. So your nail length, you will take the measurement of the person and go up by 2 inches. So it's usually between 17, 18, 19, depending on how you want the style of the skirt to be. So please don't be confused with these 2 lines. You can have just one. You can have just one as your hip line. If you know, you can coordinate and you can sew it. But most times this style works for me perfectly. So the whole length here is going to be the length of our skirt. So the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to use the bust separation method. The bust separation method says that the bust separation is what I am going to use here on the waistline and on the hip line for my center pattern. Every other measurement will be taken from the side pattern. So the bust separation I'm using is 4. So if you are using 4, then you have to add ½ inch for the sewing allowance, because you are still going to join this center to the side. So I have 4.5 here. I've added the allowance. I'm making this pattern as if I am working on the fabric directly. So I'm adding all the necessary seam allowances. So on your hip line here, I'm going to measure 4.5. So remember, they're both the same thing. But on your nail line, I'm going to minus 1 inch. So for this side, it is going to be 3.5. It was 4.5 on the waist, 4.5 on the hips, 3.5 here, and then I'm going to join it down. So this is the same thing from the hip to the waist, and then I'm going to come in by 1 inch on the nail line, and then from here make sure you have a long ruler so that you can have a very nice cut. Your 6 pieces is about how you cut. So this is the front pattern. It's as easy as that. We are done with the front pattern. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out, and you will see what I have here. So if you have any other requests you want me to make, just like one of my favorite subscribers, you can also make your own request. So now this is our center pattern, and I will open it. You can see that it's already coming out beautifully well. Look at the shape. Imagine the shape here is coming out beautifully well. So the next thing we are going to do now is we are going to cut the back pattern. The back pattern is the next thing that will come. So I want to assume that this is my fabric and I want to cut the back pattern. Now for this style here, for the length, for the width of this place here, it is 8.5 on fold. and I'm going to add 1.5 inches because of the zip allowance. So 1.5 plus this 8.5 will give me 10. So now that I am folding, I will not fold 8.5 just like I did for the front. I am going to fold 10. So I'm folding 10 because of the zip allowance at the back. So if you pay attention and you watch again, I'm very sure you are going to understand what I'm doing. So this is it here, 10. And I'm making it 10 because of the zip allowance. So before I bring in my front, I'm going to mark out the 1.5 inches. I'm going to mark it out, the 1.5 inches. So you can see me marking it out here. And I'm going to connect the lines together to differentiate it from the real measurement. So when I'm done, I'm going to bring in my front pattern. The front pattern is the most important pattern in this draft. So I'm going to place it here. I'm going to place it here from where I have my zip allowance. And I'm going to cut it out exactly the same way. You can see the down is matching, the up is matching. So I'm going to cut it out exactly the same way. The only difference is that on this back side, I'm going to, this is my zip allowance, but when I get to the new line here, I'm going to come out this way. Instead of sewing it straight, I will just sew it out this way, just to give the back a little fitting. But for the other side, the front, I'm just going to mark it this way because I'm going to cut it out exactly the same way. Exactly the same way, no difference. So you can see. So I'm going to cut out this way. 6 pieces is very simple. Just once you get the theory behind it, you are good to go. So I'm going to cut it out now. And here I'm going to open up where I have my button, where I have my zip allowance. I'm going to open it up because this is not supposed to be on fold. It's where I'm going to put my zip. So this is it for the back. This is it for the back. So you can see this is it for the back. So the next thing we are going to do now is we are going to cut. Okay, look at this now. This is the back. We need the side here and we need the side here. So the same thing for the front. We need the 2 sides. If I open the front here for you to see, this is the front. I need this side and I need this side. And the way to do that too is very easy. Just stay with me. So now this is the other fabric I'm coming out with. Now look at this closely. I'm going to take the full measurement of the bottom side here. So on the bottom side here, this is what I have as the full measurement. I'm going to mark it. The full length of the base here is 17.5. So it means for this whole place here, I'm going to have the same thing this way. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. So now that I have done that, I know that this is where my full length is. I'm going to do the same thing on top here. I'm going to do the same thing on top. Now I am going to fold it into 2. I'm going to fold it into 2 this way. Because all my panels must have the same width on the bottom side. When I fold it, everything has to be the same width on the bottom. Now that I have folded, please just pay attention to this. I'm going to open it up again, and then I'm going to place my centerpiece this way on half of the folded fabric, half of it. I hope you can see it. From this crease line that I folded, this is half of it. So on this side here, I'm going to mark out the same measurement this way. On this side here, I am marking it out because this is the side I'm going to join to this place. Look at it. This side here, this is the side I am going to join. When I open it up, this is the side I'm going to join. So I need it to be exactly the same thing here when I join it. So that is why I'm doing this. Half of it should be the same thing. So I'm going to cut it out here because I want you to understand what I'm doing. I'm going to cut it out. We are trying to construct a side panel, and I want you to understand what I am doing. That is why I am cutting it out. So this is, remember, this is our center front is on fold. So look at it here. This is how we are going to have it. This is how we are going to sew it together. So now I need now to complete my measurement on this side. I need to complete my measurement on this side. So now for my, this is the time for us to now come in with our calculation. So my waist measurement, the waist measurement I'm using is 29. So 29, remember this place is on fold. So we are going to assume, just like we do our fabric, we divide by 4. So this is going to be half of the front. This side and this side is going to be half of the front. So I'm going to say 29 divided by 4. And I'm going to have 7.25. Now here I already have 4. Remember, here I already have 4. If I measure it, you may say 4.5, but I'm not calculating the half inch because I'm still going to use the half inch to join. So I have 4 here. So I'm going to continue from my new measurement here, my 7.2. So this is 4. I'm going to minus the 4 that I have. I'm going to minus the 4, and I'm going to continue until I get to 7.25. So here is my 7.25 here. Here is my 7.25. So if I measure it from here, to this place, removing the half inch that I'm going to use to sew, I'm going to have 7.25. Now remember that I'm going to join this one to this one. So I'm going to add my half inch, the half inch that I'm going to use to join. Remember this place we added a half inch to join to this. So I have to add another half inch here to join to this if I don't want to have any shortage. Now because this is the edge of our skirt, I'm going to add my 2 inches allowance. You can even add 2.5. This 2 inches allowance here is the one that I'm going to use to sew the side. So before I go on, let me mark out my hip measurement, my hip allowance here, and the nail. This is where I have the nail. So let me mark it out, the nail, and this is where I have the hip measurements here. Let me measure it. I want it to be accurate, so let me measure it. I measured from between 8 and 10, then 18. So I'm going to do this and measure it. So it's very easy. We are almost done. So now this is it. So this is my waist measurement here. So it's time for me to mark the hip measurement. So the hip I'm using is 39. 39 divided by 4 will give me 9.75. So if I remove here I have removed 4. So if I say minus the 4 that I have removed, I have 5.75. So here I am going to measure my 5.75 here. Remember, I'm still going to use ½ inch to join it. So I'm going to add the ½ inch, and then I'm going to use 2 inches sewing allowance at the edge. So this is 2 inches here. I think I need to extend my line more. Okay, so the same thing I'm going to, this is what I have here. So I'm going to roll the same thing here, my 5.75 here, the ½ inch, and then the 2 inches here. So now on my new line here, whatever I have here, I'm going to measure everything here. This is 8.5 here. I'm going to minus 1.5 from here. So if I have 8.5, and I minus 1.5, I'm going to have 7. So here I'm going to put my 7 here. So now I'm going to connect the lines together. So this here, I'm going to connect it to the hip line this way. And then here, like what I said, is going to be straight. Make sure that this part is straight. So this is going to help you to eliminate any form of pointy edge when you are sewing. You can also use your ruler to make sure that it is very curvy, and then to make sure that it doesn't have any sharp point. Then I'm going to connect this line to the new line this way. And lastly, I'm going to connect it to where I have my, this place where I have my line. I hope you can see that it is very easy. It is as simple as that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it out, because we are done with the pattern. It's as simple as that. So you can see this is the side of my pattern, and when I open this place up, you can see this is the center of my pattern. So all I need to do now is to duplicate this side. Duplicate it. This is one side, so I need 3 more. The other one will be on this side. You can see here. So imagine this is here, another one is going to be here, and then you duplicate it for the back. It's as simple as that. Just make sure you follow all the steps I have given you. It is very easy. And don't forget your band. If you want to add band to this pattern, make sure you subtract your band measurement. You subtract it from the measurement of the skirt. And if you don't want to add band to it, you just want to turn it in, then you can use your bias or your lining to turn it in. If you want to use lining, you can use half lining, you can use full lining, depending on what you are making. So if it's going to be half lining, you will cut the same, you will use this pattern to cut your lining up to this place or up to this place, and then you will turn it in. You will sew it together with the fabric here before you join it to this one. And then if you want the full lining, you can also add the full lining. So on this side, when you are sewing your skirt, I want to show you on this side when you are sewing. This is where the sewing allowance, this is where the pattern is, this is where the measurement is, this is just the sewing allowance. So by the time you are ready to sew, you sew from here this way, and then on the new line, make sure you come in by the same measurement here, and then when you want to sew down, from the new here, remember you came in by 1.5 from your waist. This is the waist measurement. You came in by 1, you subtracted 1.5 here. Now from that 1.5, make sure you sew this way to the edge. So that's how you are going to sew it. You sew from here to the edge, so that you make sure that this length here is still the same thing with the other panel. So you can see that making our 6-piece skirt is very easy. Please, if I said I should repeat myself, I'll just be saying the same thing over and over. So you can please watch it for the first time, and then the second time try and practice. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have learned something. If you have any question for me, please send to me in my comment section. If you understand this pattern, please let me know that you understand it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and return for more beautiful and interesting tutorial. Thank you.